Hello and welcome to my Joomla tutorial on how to change the read more using a language override. But I'm not just going to show you the read more, I'm going to show you how to change pretty much any bit of text in Joomla, including third-party extensions, components, modules, pretty much everything that is using the Joomla way of producing a string. And the reason that they do it this way is so it can be translatable, because Joomla has got a high focus on multilingual. Let's get started. Where am I? Yes, I'm on the right one. So I'll refresh this. This is read more with an ellipsis, which doesn't make much sense to me, and it's a bit boring. So I was reading this article, and it's why you read more CTA. That's a call to action. Maybe a conversion killer and 12 better options. I'll put the link in the video description. But basically, they make some suggestions. View more, find out what happens next, learn more now, get my article, my perfect plan, blah 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 blah. Right. So as we can see, that there's a potential that we could make this much more interesting. So first things first, I'll show you how to find the language overrides page. So you go to extensions and you go to languages. You can click on overrides. Now, as with all overrides in Joomla, if you make an override here and Joomla doesn't update, this will not get overwritten. This will be there after the update, and your read more will have changed on a more permanent basis. So you've got two options. You've got your site and you've got administrator. Now we're changing read more, and it's on the front end, so that's site. So I'll click new, and the first thing I'll do is I'll just type in read more in here. Now, as you can see, there's a few. And in this instance, I can guess, like mod is a module, right? So all of these are modules. I don't need them. WF, I don't know. I think it might be admin tools or something. We don't need that. So now we're left with these four, and they are com content. And this is an article. So it probably is com content somehow. So first things first, we've got register to read more. Well, that isn't the text that we've got, so it's not that. This one has a colon, so it's not that. So it's one of these two. Now I've got com content feed read more. Indicates it's probably part of a feed, maybe RSS or something like that. Well, that's not right. So we'll have a guess at this one. And then I'm going to change it to read the full article. Right, and then I'll save it. Go to the front and a refresh. And you can see, read the full article. So awesome. That was lucky I guessed the right one, but fantastic, we've got it. So now I'm going to show you, because that was okay, there was like a 1 in 2 chance of getting it right, but it could be much harder than that, right? So I'm going to keep the languages overrides open, but I'm going to open in a new tab, and I'm going to go to the global config. So I'm going to go to the systems tab, and I'm going to turn on debug language. Now it gives you two options, your constant and your value. And if we go back to the languages override, I'm going to change an admin one next, so I'll change that to admin. But you can see here you've got your value and your constant. Now value is what we just searched. That's what the actual thing says. So if we search for read the full article, we would find our override. Excuse me. So there are other times when that won't be so obvious. Even with read more, there was a couple of options we had to guess. So say, for example, we want to change this menu item where it says content. Let's do a quick search. Okay, it's content, and then we've got more results, and 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 I'm not going to keep doing that, but you get the idea. There's a lot of them. We could guess, we could go com admin help, com admin tools, it's not admin tools, and we could rule some out, but we're already in quite a lot of options here, so we would rather know for sure, quite quickly, what is that called. So let's go back to the constants and the values, right? We know the value is the thing that comes out the other end. But what is the constant? So I will show you a module that we were creating for our user group Joomla London. And within every module, there's an XML file. And within every XML file, usually you would see this capitalized formatting, which is usually a language string. You could just type your own language there, but by using a language string, it means it's doing things the Joomla way. So it's translatable, basically, and it can come into any language. So if we was to show you how that works, it's basically you create a language file as well to go along with this, and you tell Joomla what that actually means. So if we go mod gem wide show no events, actually that won't be a good one. If we none of them will be good ones actually. Anyway, the point is this is in a language file called something.ini. So this is en-gb, which means it's English and it's British English, otherwise known as English. So you see here is the capitalized part, which matches this part. Well, I mean, it probably doesn't match that part. Let's see if there is one. Oh yeah, there is one there. So there's this part which matches the part here, and then there's the other part which actually tells you what it's going to say, right? So if I type in this, that's what's going to show on the screen at the other end. And if I want to translate it, if I translate this bit into Spanish, for example, creating a Spanish language file, then I could use that same part at the beginning, and at the end part I would write it in Spanish. So that shows you the difference. The capitalized bit is what's known as the constant. That bit will never change. It doesn't matter what language I use. I'll still be using that particular thing to identify it. That's why it's a constant. And this bit is the value, which can change in another language or in another override. So back to Joomla, and we've got language debug, yes, and we've got constant, and we've got value. And we're going to put constant, and I'll show you why once we've saved it. You can see that these have all changed now to the constants, which is the capitalized parts. And that is helpful because if you remember, we tried to search for content, and that was a real painful thing to find because it's too common. So now we're looking at this one. So if I come here and I type that in, oh, that's not it. Let me copy and paste it again. So I'll have to get it annoyingly from the source code, but here we are. You can see it always puts a double star around it. That's just a Joomla thing. You don't want the double star, so I'll just get rid of it, and then I'll do a search. In the value, I find nothing. I change this to a constant. I do a search, and boom, a few of them come up. Now we know from this that it's this exact thing that we're looking for. Now here they've got a few things on the end, so we know they're the wrong ones. Plus they don't say content, which is what we're looking for. So let's click on that one, and it puts the item in here. So I'm going to change that content. I'm going to change it to my articles, and I'm going to save it. And then I'm going to go back into my configuration because it is a tad tedious to have it like this. And I'm going to change. First of all, I'll show you the value. So there you can see it's got stars around it, so we know what we're doing. And then I'm going to change that to constant, change that to debug language, no, save and close. Debug is now turned off, and we've changed content to my articles. You could choose anything you wanted. Now you can imagine that sometimes clients might, for example, find Akeeba Backup a bit confusing because they don't know what Akeeba means, and sometimes clients are scared to touch things. So let's refresh this. So now let's type Akeeba Backup. Oh, Akeeba Backup. So you can see there's probably quite a few, but probably because Akeeba Backup always starts with Akeeba Backup and then does something. But if we change this, we change this to backup site, and then we save it, refresh the back end, and then we go here, and it says backup site. So just some little tweaks which might make your website a little bit more user-friendly, and they're not getting overridden. Now, perhaps you think, actually, that's a brilliant idea. I would much prefer it if it was always called backup site. In fact, all of my websites should be called backup site, and perhaps Joomla update should be called update security or something like that, right? So, or, you know, there's a million things you could change. So let's show you where they're all saved. So I'm in my FTP, and I'm going to go to a language, and it's in overrides, and I've got this .ini file as I was showing you previously. And now if you look, perhaps I should open it in a code editor instead. And if I whack it up there, and it hasn't worked. Brilliant. Okay, great. Let's download it. Let's do it from local. Don't know why that happens. Fantastic though. Right, here we are. So now you can see that these are all my overrides, and this is my constants, and this is my values. And you will see my read full article, which I just created to change the read more button earlier, is there. So now I can make as many overrides as I want in the backend, and I know they're always going to be saved in this file for the site. And let me show you where they're saved for the admin. Administrator, language, overrides, and again, just another .ini file, and I'll drag that in there and show you that as well. And you can see Akeeba is done to backup site. So if you thought this was a brilliant idea, it's as simple as copying that .ini file over to the overrides folder of either administrator language overrides, or if it's a site override, a front-end override, then it would just be language overrides. And that's the way you can just copy all of these overrides into another site and use the same terminology throughout all your sites. If you decide, actually, we can improve Joomla quite a bit, here's a way to do it and make it scalable or reusable. So I hope that's helped. That's pretty much how you find out which language string is being used, and then override it to say whatever you want. There's another tutorial on how to change this whole menu, which is also kind of useful, but I still think it was a pretty neat demonstration of how to change the core. And don't forget, we've changed Akeeba Backup as well, so third-party tools are also this also applies to them. So you can pretty much change anything as long as the developer has used language strings in the first place, which is the best practice because it makes it translatable for another language, so why wouldn't you? I hope that's helped somebody. I think it's really neat that Joomla can do that. If you would like more videos, then subscribe. Follow us on the other socials. We're always tweeting and posting about web design and development and Joomla. And other things that we find interesting. Hopefully you would too. Please do comment and tell us if it's good, if it's bad, what else you'd like to see, if you have any questions. Did I explain things badly? Did I go too quickly? I'd accept all feedback, and if you just want to get in touch and ask a question, then feel free to go through the website or however you want to. Anyway, thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.